Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, just a quick assessment on Archie Sharp versus Diego Andrade. It was alright. It was a decent little scrap. Archie Sharp's a fighter who, back in 2019, a lot of people were really, I remember this, a lot of people were really kind of high on Archie Sharp. I think because it was in around the time when Frank Warren at one stage had Leon Woodstock, he'd Archie Sharp, and he'd Zelfa Barrett. Now, at the time, a lot of people were high on Zelfa Barrett, a lot of people were high on Leon Woodstock. Archie Sharp was kind of the one no one was really talking about. And then after Zelfa Barrett lost, him and Leon Woodstock fought, and Archie Sharp came out on top. I actually think that might have been on the same card as O'Hara Davis versus Jack Cattrall. And they started pushing Archie Sharp then, basically. But I remember when he fought a guy called Declan Geraghty. He's from Dublin. And he's crap, Geraghty. He's nothing to write home about. But Geraghty was outboxing this guy, and this is a shot to pieces, Declan Geraghty. This is a guy who's been knocked out several times, badly as well. And he was outboxing Archie Sharp until he got caught with one shot and got knocked out himself by Archie Sharp. Then obviously we had 2020 where he was inactive. His last fight before this, he looked very poor. Very poor. And he blamed that on you're packing a little bit too much weight during lockdown. Out of the ring for a further 11 months, we have his fight tonight. Now, in this fight, he showed glimpses of good fundamental technical boxing, kept it at range. So here's the thing, right? When he wanted to keep it at range and he wanted to, jab, right hand, counter, take a step back move, he was doing that fine. There was moments in this fight, like the third round, where this Andrade guy is very crude. Very crude, just a wild swinger. That can be awkward sometimes as well because he's so crude, because his punches are coming from such awkward angles. It'd be very hard to kind of get into a rhythm because you see guys swing before, but this guy was swinging from always. But Sharp kind of dragged himself into a little scrap early on. He kind of started to showboat a bit just to kind of say, like, let's have a scrap. Now, I think by doing that, he played into Andrade's strengths because he was happy to go fight fire with fire, have a scrap. Whenever Archie Sharp did decide to box, I think Sharp could have made this fight a lot easier than he did, because Andrade definitely won rounds in there. He won about 3 rounds. There was maybe an even round or 2 in there as well, but he definitely won rounds in here. And the rounds he won was where Sharp just really kind of forgot about his boxing, kind of got too close, tried to brawl. And there were times as well where his timing looked good when he was popping the jab and he was throwing the right hand, he was moving a bit, but there was other times where it didn't. It looked like, obviously 11 months out of the ring, it will hinder you. But it was strange, He was some rounds where he looked fine. There was some very lackluster rounds. The 5th round was an interesting round, because that was the round where Archie Sharp should be thanking his lucky stars that he didn't get disqualified. Because what happened in that 5th round, I've seen fighters get into messy clinch, but I've never seen this. Archie Sharp, it was like WWE. He literally picked up Andrade and threw him over his head, and then back onto the kid. Literally threw him up over his head. And when I saw that, I thought, oh boy, you could seriously get disqualified for this. And amazing, it was Howard Foster who was refereeing this fight. So Howard Foster is a terrible referee. And not only he threatened to throw Archie Sharp out if he did it again, but not only that, he didn't even dock a point. Now, I've seen points get docked for a lot less, in terms of, sometimes it's not even, you don't even mean to do it. Sometimes it can be just accidental, maybe tripping over a foot and you shove your opponent down. I've seen points docked for that. I've seen fighters DQ'd for just picking their opponent up. I've seen that. I remember Paddy Barnes on his pro debut, his opponent lifted him up kind of like up over his head and put him straight back down. Not dropped, like just literally put him down on his feet, and he was thrown out instantly. So Sharp, not even to get a point deducted, that's a bit dubious, I have to say, because at the very least you would dock him a point for that, because that really, and to be fair, Andrade tried to play up and Howard Foster just picked him up off the ground. It was funny because he was trying to make out that he hurt his leg on the way. You see Howard Foster just reached up and just, you're up, now you're fine. But the fact he didn't dock a point, though, that's dubious to me. At the very least, you should have docked the point for that, because that was quite a stupid thing to do. Another few issues for Archie Sharp were as I said, the inactivity was hindering him. He's going to be inactive for a little while longer because he suffered 2 cuts. He suffered a cut from a punch in, I think it was the 7th round, where it was legit. It was a real slashing shot from Andrade, went in. It was a right hand that just kind of skimped. I think it could have maybe even come with maybe the edge of the glove, which, you get that, it'll just rip your skin like tissue, especially if you're wet or something like that, and it's just going to slice it. So there was a cut, which wasn't great. It was under the eyelids. It's not a good place to get a cut, but it wasn't terrible. But then a headbutt went in, and then that was when Archie Sharp really did start to bleed. Well done to the cut men, credit, because they were able to stop the bleeding pretty much instantly. I didn't see it bleed for the rest of the fight. There wasn't much left, to be fair, in the fight, but still it didn't happen nonetheless. And to be fair, Archie Sharp really took over from then. The last 2 rounds of this fight, he boxed beautifully. He's now WBO global super featherweight champion, for what that's worth. I mean, there's so many of these little trick of titles that they don't mean much. They don't, simple as. But he has that. They're talking about, maybe having a fight of the winner of Herring versus Stevenson. Archie Sharp, to me, is British European level. I don't think he could prove me wrong, but I don't think he quite has the consistency in his boxing to be able to cut at world level. I mean, bear in mind, this is a guy getting outboxed by Declan Geraghty. Yes, he knocked him out, highlight reel knockout. But realistically, I've seen Declan Geraghty, go in there with lesser fighters and go life and death with them. I've seen him, get battered from pillar to post by James Tennyson. So for Archie Sharp to be having tough fights like that, and his last fight was very tough as well, to me it's not a good look. To me it says that if he goes kind of European world level, there's a very good chance he's going to come up short. Very good chance. But there is a good boxer there. He just needs to get a bit more consistent. Like I said, when he boxed in this fight, we used the jab, he used some feints, he used some counters. It's fine. He was in there with a very crude opponent. It has to be said, very, very crude. And, when you hear a Mexican fighter who's, a bit unknown coming over to the UK to fight, you don't know what you're going to get. This guy only had, I think, 1 knockout his whole career, and it showed, because he landed. There was several times where he landed left hooks on Archie Sharp, and they were good left hooks. They were good counter left hooks, and Archie Sharp was, born in with his head wide up in the air. Didn't have any effect on him. So, he needs to, as I said, I would have said about his last fight and the fight before, there's improvements need to be there for Archie. There's a good fighter there, but definitely needs to improve on it. For now, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to really... I'll talk about this fight on Monday in the review of the week, or this card. Meant to have Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yarde, both in fights. Lyndon Arthur had his fight. I seen it, I watched it, and do a review of it. But yeah, again, that's Lyndon Arthur in a nutshell. Inconsistent. Anthony Yarde, I think his opponent pulled out. It wasn't with... what. I don't actually know why he pulled out. They never specifically said why. It definitely wasn't to do with, anything like that. But I'm not 100% sure why he pulled out. I think it could have been maybe travel, God knows. But Anthony Yarde wasn't on this card anyway. Irrespective of whether he was on it or not, it was still a fairly weak card. Very weak card. I'll talk about it more tomorrow. And you'll get that video on Monday. For now, I'm going to leave you with this. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did. Notification bell, subscribe button, all that good stuff. Lads, lassies, for now, I'll talk. Have a great Saturday.